Let me know when you're ready.
I'm all set.
Tonight I brought my electric fan warmers. It's organized. I brought them all charged.
Basically
Yeah,
just what it is.
lost their charge.
Yeah.
He's like the Christmas.
You guys ready?
Oh, yeah.
Ready?
Sorry.
Oh, that's all right. Good evening. It is Tuesday, December 9th of 2025. This is the Stoughton City Council meeting. First item is our roll call. Clerk Kristen.
Okay, Tillotson.
Oh, now I'm at top of the list. I'm here. Okay.
You are, thank you.
Thank you.
Reeves. Yes. Here. Butler.
Ho, ho, ho.
Schumacher.
Illuminated.
Piano.
Here.
Nino.
Here.
Caravello.
Here.
Bosniak Scanlon.
Here.
Sherlucky.
Here.
Hirsch.
Here.
And Johnson.
Here.
Okay, we have 11 alders present. Alder Abel is absent and excused.
Sure. All right, thank you, Candy. Hopefully that's better. We are certified in compliance with open meeting laws. Nobody is signed up for public comment. We have communications and presentations. Introduction of historical fact.
All right, to start out, most of my outfits I consider Christmas casual. Today is business Noel. So, all right, a couple of items from history here. We'll start in 1918, December 1st. This one a little more ironically on the tragic side, but one of the city's most serious fires in many years. Flames early yesterday wrecked the State Bank and Post Office buildings and broke the telephone service. This was in Stoughton Courier Hub, December 2nd, 1918. The most serious fire the city's experienced in many years. Damaged the State Bank building and almost entirely wrecked the adjoining building owned by the bank and occupied by the post office and the candy kitchen on the first floor, and by the Wisconsin Telephone Company. And as one result of the fire, which put out of commission the telephone plant over the State Bank, there occurred what we believe is the first complete cessation of local telephone service since the Stoughton Exchange was established in the middle 90s, 1890s. And they were never able to figure out where the fire had started from, as that was, Patrick, when did they kind of get into like fire forensics? Right, so a little bit before that time. That was the fire of 1918. Second piece I have is from 1969, that there was a milestone reached that the 1970 tax levy for the city will exceed $1 million for the first time in history. And the mill rate was set at $53 per 1,000. Which was only $1 more than the previous year. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Next up is City of Stoughton snow and ice removal. And Director Aber has a presentation, and I can go through it with you.
Great.
very fitting, I think, that we do this today. So we're kind of already in the midst of the snow season, but I think now is actually a good time to do this presentation to discuss some of the things that we do to remove snow and ice from the city roadways and in the parks areas. Next slide, please. So we just got this in. This is the 2025-26 forecast for snow. So we're expected to get anywhere between 0 and 250 inches of snow. So that is official. So we do go by that. So next slide, please. Yeah, we're getting closer. Yeah. So it is stacking up. So, and here's another one. You know, we do look at these charts. We make sure that we study them. So, you know, this is another one that, you know, basically no one has any idea what we're going to get for snow, and neither do we. So it's fun to look at the different Facebook posts and the different, you know, Farmer's Almanac and things like that. But I'll be honest, they don't know anymore. Then, you know, about 2 days out is when they can kind of dial things in and get the totals sort of right. It's fun to look at the 10-day forecast. I wouldn't pay too much attention to it. You know, we look daily at what's going on with weather. However, within that 12 to 24 hours is when we really start to dial in our operations and get staff members together, get equipment ready to go for whatever type of precipitation we're going to face. Like tonight, we have a mixed bag of potentially everything. So we're ready to go for whatever we have coming our way. But when it comes to these different, you know, seasonal weather outlooks, obviously La Nina and El Nino, you can look at those things and kind of, you know, gauge what it may be like. However, we really have no idea. So next slide, please.
Thought we base forecasting on the width of the stripes on the woolly caterpillars.
Yeah, there's a lot of different old wives' tales, you know, the thickness of the beehives and that type of thing. But, you know, we're going to get what we get, and we're going to react and make it happen. So, so snowplow operations. Next year, I'm going to use a different color. I'm having a tough time seeing the screen. So we have 142 lane miles of roadway and growing. So lane miles are each lane in each direction, or the 4-lane being Highway 51 or Main Street. We have 9 residential plow routes, downtown plow route, 2 cul-de-sac routes. We have about 56 different segments of walking paths, the new roundabouts and the multi-use paths that we have throughout the city. Parking lots, we have 10 of those as well. So we divide our operations up into our main roadway plow routes, and then our residential plow routes. Our mains are what we, like during the storm, we want to maintain our main roadways to make sure that emergency services can get to where they need to go, that people can get home. Obviously, during a snowstorm, we don't encourage people to venture out if they don't have to. Obviously, people need to go to work and get home from work, to go to school and from school. But the biggest thing is during a storm, if you don't need to venture out, please don't. But these are the main routes that we have. Like this morning, we had, you know, about a quarter to a half inch of snow. We took care of our main routes, our hills, hospitals, and of course this morning there was school. So we took care of all the schools before 7:30. So that's what we focus on kind of during the storm. And these typically we bring 4 staff members in to do these routes. Next slide, please. Then we jump into our residential route. So essentially at the cessation of the snowfall, or at the very end of the snowfall, that's when we start our main plow. That's when we go into our secondaries and plow the entire city. So, you know, unfortunately, someone's first, someone's last type of thing. But I think we have a pretty efficient snow operation. We're done in, you know, about 7 to 8 hours. We can get done if we have everybody present, which is pretty good. And we want to maintain that level of service to our public. You know, with that, as we grow, we need to add more staff members and more equipment to maintain that level of service. In 26, we're doing that. So that's a good thing. So we plow curb to curb, and then we salt as needed. We don't salt all of the residential neighborhoods. We salt the intersections, any inclines or declines, if you will. The main roads, we do salt all those. Next slide, please. Cul-de-sac routes, so we do have our 2 loaders that go out and do cul-de-sacs. It's much more efficient to use loaders in the cul-de-sacs versus our large trucks, because these loaders can turn much better in a cul-de-sac. So we save quite a bit of time by utilizing our loaders to do this type of operation. So we save about 10 to 20 minutes per cul-de-sac by using loaders. So that's a pretty good savings over time. Next slide, please. Downtown cleanup. So what a lot of people may not understand is the same staff that plows for 8, 9 hours, or sometimes even more if they're plowing during the storm, because keep in mind, it's 7 to 8 hours after the storm is done. During the storm, they're in, taking care of the mains and that type of stuff. So once they're done plowing the residential roads, that next night typically will come in with that same staff and clear the downtown area. So we haul snow out of downtown to our snow dump on 4th Street with our snow blower. We have a snow blower on steroids, essentially, that goes in the front of our loader and blows it into the back of our trucks, and then we haul it away. The biggest thing is that we do need help from the business owners downtown, the store owners downtown, to get that snow to the gutter line or to the top of the curb. If they don't get it to the curb, we can't reach it to bring it out to the roadway to collect with our snow blower. So the biggest thing is getting it to the gutter pan. We typically send out a newsletter. We talked about that today, actually, and for some reason we didn't send it out this year. We're going to send that out probably tomorrow. Parks snow operations. So all city-owned buildings, the park staff maintains those, the sidewalks. So at like City Hall, Public Safety Building here, the Opera House, the library, and a whole host of other areas throughout the city. On our GIS map, you can kind of see the color on the map, and all different areas of the city, our park staff takes care of that. We do prioritize the downtown area first. So at the first thing that we do is take care of downtown, and we try to get everything opened up by the open of business, if you will. So typically by 8 o'clock, we try to have everything done. Of course, this depends on the end of the snowfall. If it's overnight and ends at 5 o'clock, we're in there, we can clean it up by 8 o'clock. If it doesn't stop snowing until 9 or 10 in the morning, well, it's going to take a little time. So you got to give us a little bit of grace and let us do our thing. Multi-use paths are a great thing for the community, but it's just one of those things that we have to staff up for and maintain. We try to get these done within 24 hours of the snowfall. Again, a lot of the staff that we have doing the multi-use paths are also some of our main plow operators. So we are very careful not to burn them out. So they'll plow on the streets and then get some rest and come back in potentially the next day and start to hit our tertiary areas around the city, our multi-use paths. But we feel it's very important to maintain those because people enjoy using them throughout the year. So we take a lot of time and effort to make sure that we clear those as quickly as possible. This is a critical operation. I'm not just saying this because AJ is here, but we do have risk that is out there when it comes to reliability, when it comes to snow and ice on public ways. So we're very careful and try to be diligent about removing any potential snow and ice from sidewalks or multi-use paths that we own. Just downtown, this is for everybody too, this is city ordinance. In the downtown corridor, it's a 24-hour period that has to be, snow and ice has to be removed after the cessation of the snowfall. That's just the downtown corridor. Everywhere else in the city is 48 hours. We, of course, try to get it done as quickly as possible. One thing, too, is, I wish I had a slide, maybe next year I'll put this in here, but I just want to remind residents to please remove all the snow from the ramps and the corners. We have disabled people that need to get through there, and count on you to do that. So we do our part, and we hope that you will too. Next slide, please.
There was a question at finance about enforcement of the downtown. How does that work for the sidewalks?
So we do have staff members that will go out and kind of give a warning first and then potentially a citation. So we have 2 staff members, one out of our office and one in planning.
Okay.
So if they do have any issues or concerns, they can certainly look at our website and send us an email or give us a call. So salting and pre-wetting. So all trucks are equipped with basically a salter, and they're all calibrated, so we know exactly how much salt is being released from the back. We have an MS4 permit, so that's our stormwater permit, and we take it very seriously about being very cognizant of the amount of salt that we use. Every storm is going to be different. Every storm is going to dictate what we use, but our mindset, and we train on this, that the mindset is that every piece of chloride ends up in the river. And so our operators, they think about that when we put salt down. So we are very cognizant of how much salt we use. We realize that we have to use salt for safety purposes, but we don't want to overuse our salt. So we do pre-wet our salt basically in the tray. That's the picture on the right-hand side. So what that does is we have a brine solution, so basically a saltwater solution that we introduce to the salt in the tray. And what that does is it helps to reduce the amount of scatter that we have when we release it out the back, and helps it stay put on the roadway. And also, salt needs to be wet to be activated, so we kind of give it a little bit of a boost with the pre-wetting. Next slide, please. Our snow ordinance. So if we call a snow emergency, our ordinance takes into effect. So essentially, like if we call a snow emergency on a Saturday, or that snow emergency starts at midnight, Saturday into Sunday. I think people get confused about our snow emergency because at midnight is when you need to look at the odd or even side of the roadway. So let's say it's Saturday the 6th, so it's an even day, but the snow emergency doesn't start until midnight, which is actually the 7th, which is an odd day, so odd side of the road. So just keep in mind, it's at midnight. So even though we call a snow emergency, let's say that's Saturday, Sunday is really when that first day that you need to pay attention to odd or even side of the roadway. And 3 consecutive nights in a row is the ordinance, is how long it lasts unless we cancel. So, any questions on that? No? Okay.
Actually, I have one.
Yeah.
Where is the best place for the general public to go and find out if it's an odd or even
Well, it's by date.
by date?
Yeah, so it's just by the calendar date, and then so that it's the last digit of your address. So, yes.
They can sign up to get on an email list, right?
Yeah, yep, great point. So go on our website, or go on the city's, the front page of the website, either on the city website or our department website, and you can sign up to get an email blast, essentially, when we call a storm emergency. So that's has helpful information that spells everything out. Hopefully not as convoluted as on the screen here, but we try to make it as simple as possible, but people really need to pay attention to the dates at midnight. I will tell you, the best place to park your car is in your driveway, if you can. Please, get your car off the road if you can, because that just helps us to get through more efficiently, reduces the amount of risk that we may have with cars being in the roadway. I mean, these plows are huge, and we do the curbing with basically a wing, a 6-foot wing hanging off the side that we go around the car. So, again, I would invite anybody that wants to come for a ride along and kind of witness kind of what we're going through. But the biggest thing is to get off the roadway if at all possible. I know there's some areas that it's not possible. I get it, but if you can, please get off the road. Ron Burgundy says,
I have a question. If
So-
there's not enough parking, like, say, you're living in an apartment and it's odd or even, but it used to be both sides of the street, where, is there other public parking that you suggest that are good places for people to go
Yeah.
to?
Yeah, good-
I mean, I'm just trying to figure out if
Yeah.
there might be a limitation on parking spaces
Yeah,
in some areas.
one of the more congested areas that we have is Jackson Street, those apartments in, just to the west of Kingsland. They kind of tend to string out down the road and kind of figure it out. But we do have the Mant parking lot, the new parking lot at Mant Park. That's a large parking lot that would probably be a good place to park if you need to. I got to keep in mind some of the ordinances that we have with parking in general, but and we do plow that parking lot as well. But we'd rather have you off the road into a parking lot, then we can kind of deal with the parking lot later. But that would probably be a good one. The parking lots downtown are pretty full already, just to be quite honest. And with parking lots too, periodically we do need to close them. We provide 48 hours notice to those that use the parking lot. And then like we just did the north parking lot Monday. And so we put our signboard up on Friday for Monday, and all the cars got out of there and we got it cleared. So periodically we have to do things like that as well. So back to Ron Burgundy, the different ways that we get the snow emergency notifications out. We have the email blast that we talked about. And again, I would encourage you to go to the city's website or go to the DPW website, and there's a button you can click to sign up for email notifications. TV stations, all the different TV stations in the Madison market, we send basically the email that we send to the email notification folks. We send the exact same one to the news outlets. Regional radio stations, they're all listed there. The official city Facebook page, that's also posted on our ribbon on our city website, the main city website, and the DPW website. So we try to look at a lot of different avenues to get the word out. We try to get call the emergency as early as possible. If we are, pretty confident that we're going to get, see, it's a warning right now. It's alert day. so I didn't know my presentation had music, but I appreciate it.
Anything I can do to help you out.
Well, I appreciate it. I need an outfit like that. So again, we try to get the word out there in a lot of different media outlet, different ways. So I think one of the best ways, obviously, is the email notification. It gets sent right to you. And again, we have pretty good confidence that we're going to get more than 3 inches of snow. We call it snow emergency. We try to do that as quickly as possible. We don't want to do it in the evening and call a snow emergency before people have a time to make arrangements. So we try to do it typically before noon, but not always the case. Challenges. Next slide, please. So parked cars. So that is the picture on the right-hand side is the stuff that we deal with when we have folks that park on the street and maybe don't follow the parking ordinance, the odd even. During a snow emergency, we have cars that are parked across from each other, and our plows simply can't get through, and they won't. So from a risk standpoint, I'm glad AJ's here. From a risk standpoint, we really we can't be hitting cars or damaging our equipment. So in this situation, we'd probably back up with a spotter, of course.
Absolutely.
And then and we would then probably contact the police department to work on some enforcement or to help us out to tow these cars out of here so we can get the road cleared. Keep in mind too is that when we go around these cars, we leave a huge wind roll. We had 10 inches of snow that first storm. That's a pretty big wind roll, and it was wet, heavy snow. So Now, when they do move their car, that windrow remains. And so typically the next night we'll come back, we do downtown, we deploy 2 or 3 drivers out to go take care of what we call parking stalls. Now, if there's a driveway in front of that windrow, all that snow now goes into somebody's driveway that just shoveled yesterday. And guess who they're not happy with? So, again, the biggest thing is if you can, just get off the road, just give us a little bit of time, let us do our thing, and then you can have it back. Next slide, please. So it's a constant battle. You know, we have residents that blow snow in the street, and then we plow it off the street. You know, please blow the snow in your terrace area or back in your yard. Don't blow it back in the street. You know, especially after we go by, you're just hurting yourself and your neighbors. You know, it just the snow that you blew in there stays there. So just please, you know, place it in the terrace or on your own lawn. And your chute does turn, you know, you can move it. So just please help us out and keep the snow out of the road. The other thing too is contractors that push snow either out of driveways or parking lots. So we try to work with them. We realize that they have to put snow someplace too, so we get it. The biggest thing is that they clean up their mess behind them, and so we try to work with them first before we contact the police department. Because this is against an ordinance to blow snow in the street, by the way. Garbage cans in a roadway, it never fails. We seem to always have a snowstorm on a Friday or a Tuesday. But that's one thing that residents can help us out. If they can shovel kind of an area on their terrace to put the trash cans off the curb, that's very helpful, or to put it in their driveway if they can. Just get it out of the road would be very helpful. Next slide. Mailboxes. So here's the deal with mailboxes. So there's a couple of things. So the installation of the mailbox, you have to follow USPS rules. And so we do have that listed here. We also have it on our website. So the biggest thing is that you follow those rules. Also, to make sure that your mailbox is in good condition. So I will tell you the majority of mailbox issues that we have, we've had a few this year already, and you probably saw them or heard about it. But the majority of those issues with the mailboxes, the post was rotten. So I have a picture of a rotten post here in both those pictures. So we go out there and investigate, if you will, all the different calls we get about mailboxes. The large majority are rotten posts, or the mailbox itself, where it sits on the frame there, is rotten or in disrepair. If that's the case, we will not replace it. If it's rotten, or the mailbox is not fastened correctly to the post, we're not going to replace it. Now, if we hit it with our plow, by all means, we're going to replace it. That's our fault, and we'll own it, and we'll fix it. Next slide, please. So, some helpful tips about mailboxes. I'm not sure when the last time you guys checked your mailbox. We talked about this a couple weeks ago about mailboxes, and we went around the room and said, when's the last time you checked your mailbox? None of us have checked our mailboxes to make sure. Yeah, if it's on your house, you're good, you're golden. Yeah, we got problems, yeah, for sure. So the biggest thing is just, before the winter season, just check it, give it a wiggle and make sure that everything is sound. If it is rotten or in disrepair, just fix it. A lot of times if the snow hits it, it's in good condition, it's not going to be knocked over. The real problems are the mailboxes that basically are rotten or in disrepair. So biggest thing and the biggest takeaway is just check your mailbox, make sure it's in good condition, call your landlord if that's the case, and make sure that they do that. But inspect it and give us a call if you got any questions or issues. We're happy to talk through it, work through it with you. But we will not replace mailboxes that are in disrepair. Next slide, please. Keep up with future growth. And I appreciate the support that you guys have given us going into 26. We got essentially 2 new operators that we're looking to onboard with AJ. So that we definitely appreciate that. In our capital improvement program, we have equipment in there to keep up with this growth, and so we're in a good place right now. But we just got to keep up with that as we continue to grow. Basically, we're just doing our job. We're here for you guys and to make sure that you have a safe roadway. Just give us some space, slow down, stay back, that the kind of simple stuff. But the snow has to go towards the curb. It's gonna go in your driveway. It's gonna, you're gonna have to shovel the windrow. But the biggest thing too is, if you go to the next slide, is that when we're done plowing for our 7 or 8 hour shift, we may have been there for 12 hours, we were there during the storm, well, we got the same windrow that we have to go shovel ourselves. And a lot of times by the time we get there, it's ice pack. So we're no different than anybody else. We don't plow our own driveways, contrary to popular belief. We have the same issues to deal with that you guys do when it comes to plows, putting snow in the driveway. So we're all in this together, and if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
All right, any questions for Director Aber? All right.
Brett, do you change your chlorides based on the temperature?
As far as, if it's like a day like today where it's towards 30, we have some precipitation, we probably won't use our pre-wetting, so there's already a lot of moisture in the salt. As we drop it, there could be, wet pavement. So our biggest thing is that, putting the pre-wetting or anti-icing down introduces more chlorides, and so we'll scale back on that if we don't need to. Yeah, but we don't use any mag chloride, we don't use any hot mixes, if you will.
Right.
We use straight chloride.
Got it.
So, yeah, we don't mix. I know, I would say back in the day, but years ago, a lot of municipalities and DPWs used to use hot mixes and very caustic, to metals, and we don't use them. It's not good for our equipment. It's not good for your equipment, so we just don't use them. So if we get a situation where we have a long duration of very cold weather and we have ice or snowpack that's still on the roadway because, let's say the temperatures are like they are today, they're around 30 degrees, and then all of a sudden tomorrow it drops below 0 and stays that way for a week. I think it was last year, the year before, we had that scenario for about a week. So we may deploy sand, which is a last resort for us because of our storm sewer system, but we will deploy sand if necessary.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Some of the newer developments out on the west side have the alleys. Have you had any issues with those?
Luckily, they're private, so so no, they're great. Yeah. Yep.
Okay. Any other questions?
Oh, one thing.
I had
Oh.
a question.
Oh, sure.
This is Lisa. I was just wondering if you had considered, from a public works standpoint, our ordinance, snow emergency ordinance, has been causing confusion as long as I've been on council, and I just wondered if, whether or not this would be a public works item for consideration at some point to see if there's a best practice that maybe you've experienced from other communities. It's more about, a conversation for a future date, but I was just curious if you'd had any of those conversations at the public works level about whether or not our snow emergency ordinance is helpful or perhaps more confusing than it needs to be.
Yeah, great question. I mean, we've had these conversations in the past. We seem to talk about them every year. I know we put together a matrix a couple years ago that kind of had a couple different scenarios on what it could look like, what other communities utilize. We talk with the PD often about our snow emergency and some of the issues, and I'll be happy to have that conversation any day about different options that we can explore. I mean, obviously, there's a lot to think about before we make any changes with ordinance and how it impacts the residents. Obviously, we want to have the least amount of impact, but the most amount of impact for our roadways. So if that makes sense. So, I would love to have that conversation anytime the Public Works Committee level wants to talk about that, or at public safety, or just to discuss what options there may be and pros and cons. Basically, we already have a chart put together to talk about it anytime.
Thank you.
Okay. Any others? All right, thank you. What time are you going to be out tonight?
Whatever time the weather dictates. So I got to call John right now, actually, and talk about it. So.
All right.
All right, thank you, guys.
Thank you. And then also in your packet, you'll see we had a proclamation from the governor. I don't know if, is that something you wanted to cover, Candy, or I think it came to you, didn't it?
Bear with me there. There we go. It did come to me. I really don't have anything more than what you see in the packet. It was just, I wanted to make sure it was put out there. It just came in recently, but wanted to acknowledge our election inspectors as our election heroes.
Okay, yeah, it was nice that the governor sent that out. There's been, a lot of changes the last several years and a lot of pressure put on our election workers. So it's nice that, you're all acknowledged, and won't be long, you'll be in the swing of it again.
Indeed.
All right, are there any communications from alders? Okay, we'll move into the consent agenda. There's a few items in there. I would entertain a motion for the consent agenda.
Tillerson, motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Butler. Would anybody like anything acted on separately?
I have a question.
Sure.
On kind of the mayoral appointments.
Yep.
And the mayoral appointments, you used to include in the packet, their kind of why they wanted to be on the committee and all that. I didn't see that for the two mayoral appointments this time. And
I
was
think
just
it's because both of them are currently serving on a committee already. So you probably would have seen that in the
So
past.
they're on different committees
Yes,
already?
yep. Let's see, Mac is on, actually, both of them are on sustainability. So that's why. But we
Okay.
can certainly include the applications going forward. We didn't have them fill out a new one.
Okay.
Okay.
I was just curious
No,
about that.
it's a good
Okay.
question. Any other questions or comments on the consent agenda? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? Motion carries. All right, that takes us to old business, which is ordinance 40 of 2025. And this is from utilities. Who would like to introduce this one?
Oh, I appreciate that.
I don't know if I can find it here.
I gotta find it quick, too.
69. There it is.
Okay. This is file number O-4025, to adapt modification subsection 74-112, 74-113, and 74-114 of the City of Stoughton Municipal Code for ordinances, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Jensen. Alderperson Tillerson.
Yep, and I'm passing this on to the director.
Yeah, I don't have anything further to add since the last meeting. If anyone has any questions since the last meeting, I'd be happy to answer them.
Are there any questions? All right, hearing none, all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is the second reading, ordinance 41. This one came from Public Safety. Alderperson Wozniak-Scanlon.
Good evening. It's the ordinance to amend sections 6-2C and D of the Stoughton Municipal Code relating to the keeping of animals, birds, and honeybees. So basically what we're doing is allowing the public who wants to keep chickens, bees, etc., to pay a one-time fee versus doing it annually. Candy, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Not necessarily anything new besides what we had last time. But basically what it's doing is the renewals, which we're not paying a fee in the past, but we're still the same amount of work. We will not be collecting the renewal applications from all of those people that we've not had any issues with in the past. If there's a complaint or something, we will go out and take a look at that application deeper, but otherwise it'll be status quo once they've paid the initial fee and submitted the application.
Okay,
All right.
all right, is that a motion?
Motion to approve.
Okay,
Well, second.
second by Alderperson Hirsch. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? None opposed. All right, the next ones are coming from finance, which we had earlier tonight. We don't anticipate having any other meetings this month, so we're just trying to get these things through tonight. That's why they're time sensitive. Alderperson Butler.
All right, first one is Resolution R170, 2025, to amend the 2025 capital budget for UTV for the fire department, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by President Schumacher. Alderperson Butler.
All right, this passed unanimously in finance this evening. This is to recognize that a couple things. One, that we had budgeted $40,000 for a replacement UTV. The cost came in higher. However, we did not budget for selling the existing piece of equipment, which sold for $15,000. So the proceeds from that sale are going to be used to offset the difference in cost of the new UTV, and then the difference, about $4,500 or so, give or take, would, rather than going to general fund, go back to the capital, the CIP fund. Did I capture that pretty well, Director Trepetowski?
You did wonderful. Thank you.
All right. Any questions or comments on that one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. Next one is R171.
All right, this is R171, 2025, establishing a fee schedule for mowing, tree trimming, and snow removal, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Tilson, second.
Who had it? A second by Nino. All right, Alderperson Butler.
All right, this is recognizing that we've charged at times for some of these services if the property owner doesn't do so either through negligence or through, like a foreclosure or something like that. But the fees varied widely, and it can vary widely. It's going to depend on the size and everything. So this is to recognize or to lay out that the fee will be the actual cost of taking care of that maintenance plus a $50 administrative fee. Anything you want to add on that one, Lisa?
No, just I'll comment that the $170 has been the fee charge since we could go back to 2010. Nothing's been in our fee schedule, so this will be included in the fee schedule. Like Alder Butler indicated, a charge could be $65, it could be $120 for the actual cost. However, we're charging both $170. So we wanted to establish a more equitable fee structure.
All right, any questions or comments on this one?
I should add that it did pass unanimously, and per Alder Reeves, there was some discussion about making sure that we keep an eye on that $50 administrative fee in case that starts to bump up.
Okay. Anything else from anybody? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And any opposed? Motion carries. And then R172.
All right, R-172, 2025, to reclassify proceeds of $80,000 from the Railroad Depot sale to committed fund balance for Historical Society of Stoughton, and I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nina. Alderperson Butler.
This is something we've discussed several times, and after the sale of the depot, we had conversations with the Historical Society about potentially pledging some funds to assist them with new location, et cetera, and this is to kind of set aside a portion of those funds to help offset some of their costs, and I would gladly allow Mayor Swadley to fill in the blanks.
So at this point, the Historical Society is looking at two long-term options for storing their artifacts. Right now, they have about 2 years to make a decision and get a structure built. They anticipate making a decision in January, and based on that decision, the cost of what they want to do may vary. One option would be to add on to the museum, which is basically the church that they operate out of. And then the other option would be to put up a structure next to the Luke Stoughton house. And once they make a decision, I think that's really going to determine what the final request would be from them. We also want to have a conversation with them at that time about any other potential partners that might help share the cost of whatever structure they decide to construct. And I think at this point, Lisa, you can help me out here, but we're just trying to basically have a placeholder.
It's just committing funds. If you choose not to use it, then we can uncommit it. Otherwise, the wholesale proceeds will go to the unassigned fund balance. But knowing that there is a request out there, here's an option for the council to commit to what they've requested so far. Should something change in the next year, we have to do a budget amendment anyways to recognize the expense. And then if it would be under 80,000, we would just uncommit less. If for some reason it's more, the council would have options of where to use unassigned fund balance or some other revenue source.
Okay, thank you. Any questions or comments on this one? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
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 And any opposed? That motion carries. All right, next one is R173 at 2025. This one we were going to take to Park and Rec. Timing is the big issue, so we have an opportunity. We've applied for a couple grants with Dane County Charge-Up Program for two of our municipal parking lots. One was the north parking lot, kind of behind Marchand's and the Chorus House, and then the other one was at Matt Park. And they've had crews out. They've done everything from see what the electrical needs are there to the topography for ADA accessibility and placement. And so far, the one at Matt Park has actually scored high enough where it would advance into the next round. So we have an agreement from Dane County that they would like us to commit to. The city attorney is working with his peers on some of the language, and he can certainly explain what some of those issues are. We've also had conversations with Tony and Park and Rec to make sure that if we enter into the agreement, some of the requirements that we can meet. So things like the meters, the chargers will be set up, or we could actually charge people to use them, but we can't actually make money on them. They'll have an internal system there that'll keep track of that for us. We can do things like have signage to restrict usage at certain times of days and things like that we're trying to work on language on. Anything you want to add, Rick? I mean, that's kind of the basic overview.
Yeah, so basically, a few communities that other attorneys in my firm work with have already done sort of the heavy lifting on working with Dane County, and now this is just sort of the agreement that my partners have already negotiated and that Dane County is using as their standard now. So from a content perspective, the agreement is good to go. There were maybe some questions about providing 24/7 access to the charging station, so it is going to be in a parking lot. So we may want to talk to the county just about clarifying that, saying that they would be available for 24 hours a day, but having the potential to put parking restrictions similar to what we have at City Hall, where it's a 4-hour parking limit. So that might be one clarification. So I guess we would, if the council wants to move in this direction, we may just want to have some discretion to make slight tweaks to language, but not really changing any of the substantive terms.
We also met with Stoughton Utilities as well as Park and Rec, Tony down there as far as the location, which would be near the new shelter. So the idea would be to place them kind of between the new shelter and the grandstand, so they would be close enough where people could either use them if they're going to the shelter, or if they're going into the Mann Center, or if they're going into the grandstand. There are residents across the street in the apartments that could potentially use them as well. I think that was one of the things that attracted Dane County to that location as well, is the flexibility of who could be using them. There would be, I believe, 4 units. A couple of them would be in ADA stalls as well. So those are some of the details that we're still working through, but it seems like they're willing to move forward, and then there may be another round of applications, and if there is, we might submit some more and maybe work with some of the private businesses that have bigger parking areas that might want to include them for their customers or their employees.
I have a question.
Sure.
How do you monitor or prevent somebody from parking there all day and like taking up that whole spot that disallows other people from charging their vehicles? I know that they'll get charged for the amount of energy that they put in their car, but once it's full, they're not going to be charged, or are they charged for the whole time that they're actually parked in that spot?
Well, what we did at City Hall is we had a couple vehicles that were parking there basically all day, whether they were fully charged or not. So we did put up 4-hour signs for them, and then we can mark them and monitor them just like we do regular parking. I don't know if we've had too much problem since we did that. I think people have kind of understood, hey, other people want to use the chargers, so they've been pretty good about coming and going. But we'll probably do something similar like that down there to start with. We don't know which model chargers they're going to use yet, so we don't know what the full capability of them are going to be until they actually bid them out and select the vendor. Okay, do you have any follow-up?
No, I was just remembering, I think it was Alliant when we had a meeting there that they would monitor, but that was like internal using, and they would call people out on like the loudspeaker, hey, time to move your car or something like that, or give them a text that their time is up because he had rented for like a certain period of hours. But
Yeah,
that's a little complicated for a city, but I'm just, like you said, there's going to be some people that will just park there for 24 hours.
Yeah, we also talked about maybe putting some cameras down there, like on the shelter. We're going to need some down there anyway, so we might be able to monitor with that as well and see if there's some frequent flyers. We can get their plate numbers and just contact them and say, hey, you have to make room for somebody else. I think most reasonable people would do that. Any other questions or comments? And you're going to read the resolution.
This is R-173, 2025. authorizing and directing proper city official to approve EV station site host agreement with Dane County Charge Up, Dane County grant for installation of EV charging stations at Mant Park. And I so move.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Tillotson. One last time for discussion. Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
And
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. Item number 12. I think Director Gillingham's waiting patiently, and Chief Jenks is here as well. And this is a discussion and possible action regarding the police union contract. This was at personnel, so that would be Alderperson Sherlucky, is it? Do you want to introduce this one?
Happily, one moment.
Okay. I don't know what's going on with the microphones.
All right, so this is discussion and possible action regarding the police union contract. I don't see a resolution number there, but I am happy to hand this over to Director Gillingham to go into further detail.
This was approved unanimously last night, 4-0 by personnel. I'll wait for you, Mayor. Nope, I'm going to go through each of the items. There's not a lot of changes from what you approved last year. Very limited. Yep, thank you. We made very limited changes. One of the things I'm very pleased to share with you is that this is actually a 2-year contract. We haven't had one of those for, goodness, over 5 years. So we were pretty excited to get a 2-year contract. One of the changes that we made was the existing uniform allowance was at $650. We're going to be bumping that up because of inflation up to $725. One of the other changes that we were asked to make by finance was that rather than reimbursing that as the expenses came in, because some of the items are taxable and some are not, we decided to take that completely off the table and just issue a separate check to the employee. And the employee then takes that $725. They have a list of items that they can be choosing from that they would be using for their uniforms. The policy that is in place that currently states that at any time the employee has to be ready to be inspected by the chief. That will then be our mechanism of making sure that they're keeping their uniforms up to par and meeting the chief's expectations. The SRO and the detective will have a different type of setup. It's a one-time payment. They don't wear the regular patrol gear. They are wearing a different type of clothing attire based on what the needs are for that position. They use a lot of street clothing just to be more friendly to the individuals that they are working with. And then that's a $500 clothing allowance, not the $750. And that payment also would be a separate check. And then one of the other things that we added in language was in the event that there's a general change in uniform, any part thereof, the city shall pay the cost of all such changes. So that would be the type of situation where the department decides to move against the navy blue and move to green for some reason. Don't financially see that as something that we would do just to incur cost or to keep cost. Why don't you come up, Chief? To keep costs under control. But if for some reason we had to change it, then we would outfit our employees. And as I said before, just a reminder that this is a 2-year contract this time, so that's a nice thing for us because we don't have to go back to the bargaining table next year. The wage rates are based on what you already approved in the budget, so that is a 3.5% across the board for the 2026 year. And we have and was in place before, but there's 5% above for the detective. So all of our patrol stay the same with the 3.5% across the board, and then the detective continues with the 5% above the top pay, and then they get that 3.5%. So again, everything stays in order there. The only thing we've added is adopting the 3.5%. And then, in 2027, we've agreed to a 3%, and that was a discussion at length with the mayor, making sure that we would be able to give them at least 3%. But then we added to that what's called a Me Too clause. You've had that before. You had it last year and years prior. In the event that the increase is greater than 3%, they have a Me Too clause, so they get whatever we give as the increase. So they would go away from the 3, and they would get the whatever percent, say it's 3.5% again. So that's the Me Too clause. 2027, based on looking at the neighboring communities and those that we compete with, we made the decision, looking at their comp matrices, that we needed to add a year 7 bump and a year 10. So we have years 1, 2, 3, and 4, which has already been approved in place. But in 2027, we felt it was important to have a step up, and that's at year 7 and 10. And then that detective, again, stays at the 5% above the top pay, which would be the 10%. Any questions on that? Okay, and then we have lateral hires. They would proceed to the next steps commensurated with the lateral hires' years of full-time service as a sworn officer. So that's something that we need to use in order to retain and also attract that top talent. If you're not bringing people in at a lateral, they're not going to look to Stoughton to be a place they want to come. We would only be attracting people coming in at the entry level if you're not bringing them in based on their years of service. So we added that in as well. Any questions on that? Okay, that's it for the contract itself. Then we have several what are called MOUs. Those are memos of understanding that we have. Those are not part of the actual contract. They're separate contracts that stand on their own. The first one that we've had in place is came into play in 2025. If you remember, we implemented the 10-hour shift rotation, which gives them 3 on, 2 off, 5 on, 4 off. And then Wednesdays, everybody's here so that they can train together and work through any common issues that the chief may have. So that is the schedule that we adopted. Based on staffing, because we have had some changes in staff, we've lost some employees, it's taken us time to be able to recruit, and/or those recruits are going through the academy. We have not been able to fairly assess this program because people have been on overtime or being called in. So this program has not been in play long enough for us to say, yes, we want to adopt it as part of the contract. We opted to keep it as an MOU, and we will be reviewing that in July. We'll be looking at to see how it's performing, and then again, we'll look at it at the beginning of the year. But this is also part of a 2-year agreement. So that MOU, memo of understanding, will stay in play. Employees seem to really like it when it's working and we're fully staffed. So it's an easy way, hopefully not to cost us a lot of money. That's what we're going to be reevaluating as well, but gives them additional time off. The next MOU that we're looking at, this is for our recruit police officer. And we bring them in what we consider hiring qualified applicants as recruit police officers. They come in at 100% of the starting pay. Only thing that we're doing here is just renewing this MOU, so no changes or anything to the language on that one. The next one is the MOU. This is for the lateral hiring. I just talked about that prior. And this allows us to have our lateral hires at the discretion of the chief to be able to determine where we're going to bring them in at. Usually it's equivalent to the number of years of experience. So the only thing that we changed in this one was adding some additional wording for clarification. And it says, at any level on the Article 6, which is our wage scale, would then proceed to the next step commensurated with the lateral hires' years of full service as a sworn law enforcement officer. So that's just clarification for us so that we have real clear guidance as we're bringing individuals in. And then the only other, I actually have 2 more. So the next one is our K-9. We're going to allow this one to expire at this time, and we will move on with a new contract when that time shall come. So that one's going away. And then our last one, I'm very excited, this is one of your accolades. This is our school resource officer. This one here, all we're doing is extending that through December 31st of 2027. So that's the only change that we have there. And the dollar amount that we're giving for the clothing allowance, which I told you was the $500, just spelled that out in here saying $500 at the discretion of the chief, which then mirrors the language that's on the other MOU and in the contract. Any questions on those? So not a lot changing, but we need to bring this to you and get final approval.
It sounds like a lot, but it really wasn't a
not.
ton compared to normal.
No, this was really a nice negotiation process, once we got there.
Anything you want to add, Chief?
Yeah, I mean, the 7 and 10-year steps really evens the playing field. When we talk about recruitment and retention, I agree with Director Gillingham. It's something we're faced with every day. We have seen some movement from our officers moving to a higher pay somewhere else. This will definitely
Seed them in
influence,
there.
influence our decision. And then just, again, evening the playing field as far as laterals, where then we can have some more, I guess, ability to recruit as we bring people in, and maybe they have 6 years of service, and now we can respect that, and like, hey, you're coming on board with us 6 years, and we'll start you at this rate, so they're not going backwards if they do choose to move to another agency. And that's nothing new, that's what we're competing against.
Yeah. So we don't want to slide further backwards. We want to be able to stay competitive and be attractive to recruits from other agencies.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any questions or comments? So, Alderperson Tillotson and then Nino.
Thank you, Mayor. Is this the time with these contract negotiations where we talk to the school board then about who's picking up how much for the student resource officer?
No, it is not.
Okay, when does that happen?
We have a 2-year contract already in place.
Okay.
So when that moves to term, that was when that conversation would happen.
Wonderful, thank you.
Good question.
Alderperson Nino?
Yeah, my question was also about the school resource officer. So extending the contract, do you have an update for us then that must be going well?
Yeah, absolutely. Officer Orn has been making inroads throughout the school. He did a presentation at their November school board meeting, and it was received very well. He's very active. He's just running from campus to campus. I think it's given us some really good sample of what we kind of expected and what we saw in the past. So in my opinion, it's going really well, and my conversations with the school indicates that as well.
Thank you.
President
Chief,
Schumacher?
May Officer Oren make that presentation to this body as well, please?
Yeah, I can arrange that. He did address our public safety committee, and that was well received, but we can set something up for maybe next month.
That'd be great.
All right.
He did share in that public safety meeting that he hasn't quite gotten to the bottom yet of the meaning of 6-7.
Skrilla. It's from Skrilla, that's it.
Any other questions or comments? So what do we have to do tonight, AJ?
We just need to get authorization. We already have the budget in place, that's why this is so awkward. So the budget's been approved, just the language changes that we've made, we need you to adopt those.
Okay. Somebody like to make a motion to adopt them?
Motion to adopt them.
Motion by Wozniak Scanlon. Is there a
Second.
Second by Tillotson. Any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any- Any opposed? Unopposed? Thank you. Go ahead, AJ.
We also have some additional huge news here in the department that I think the chief would like to share with you, if this would be an appropriate time, rather than me sending it out.
Sure, thank you for that. This is relating to parking. No, it's not, no. So, yeah, no secret, when I came back, it was almost 4 years ago, I knew it was going to be for a short run. It was a short game, and I submitted my retirement plans to the mayor. So February 6th of 26 will be my last.
I haven't accepted that yet.
No.
Well,
No.
well, appreciate that. But again, thank you, the elected body. I really appreciate it. It's been a real nice time here, and I look forward to seeing what happens in the future. And we've already began like a 2-month transition to new leadership, and I'm sure Director Gillingham will have news on a recruitment effort to replace me.
So just so everybody understands this, I don't know if everyone's been through this process before, but we do have a commission that oversees our police and fire. So that is handled through the Police and Fire Commission. I work in tandem with them. We will more than likely do the same type of process that we did when we were bringing Chief Jenks back. We have individuals that come that are subject matter experts, chiefs from other communities that'll participate on that along with our Police and Fire Commission members. And then they make the recommendation for hire. So that does not go through the normal process. It is all handled through PFC, and we'll be letting you know where we're at once we reach an agreement on that subject.
That's all per state statute, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
The other piece of that is we do internal and external at the same time. So all candidates are applying at the same time, are looked at the same time, go through the same review process, both internally and externally. So just so everyone's aware of how that process works, and we'll be getting that posted shortly. I'm waiting to talk with the head of the PFC, and we will get moving on that. On that note, I just have a couple things I'd like to say, and hopefully I won't start crying. Dan has done so much for this community. I can't even, I was writing a letter today to the council, and then I called Tim, and he's like, no, I think he might announce it tonight, so I wanted you to do that. But as I was reflecting and looking back, what you have done for this department from where it was before, it's astounding. And to look at how you have developed your staff and where they stand today from where they were when you started, Dan, I hope you realize the impact you've made, not only on the department, but the community. I watched your officers on Saturday at the Shop with a Cop, and the connection between those officers and those kiddos was amazing. So that, your SRO, working on that for several years, thank you. You have left this department in a condition where it will only move forward. So thank you. Appreciate it. It's been a pleasure working with you.
Absolutely.
That's it for now.
Yeah, very well said. Thank you for saying that for me, because I would have probably started crying. So appreciate your efforts, Chief. Thank you. All right. Yeah, it's not gone yet. Okay, we have one more agenda item, and that's potential lease terms with Nathan Moe Enterprises. And City Attorney Rick Matthews been waiting patiently for this one all night.
So with the Moe Family Farm land, we have an accepted offer to purchase on that. One of the contingencies was to enter into a lease with the current tenant who uses the land for farming purposes. So given that we aren't going to be meeting again this December, wanted to just get some direction from the council on potential lease terms, I guess primarily price and anything else that the council might view as important. I sent you all a draft lease and the current written lease that the property owner uses. So I guess if the council believes it's necessary to go into a closed session to discuss the lease and just get some quick direction about where to go, and that way we can approach the current tenant and try to get the final details hammered out and bring back a final lease for approval in January.
All right, any thoughts from the alders on that? Go ahead.
Well, I mean, the lease basically is similar to what the previous lease was for that land, correct? So we're not really changing anything.
No, I guess if the council wanted to go into closed session and talk about any changes, we could do that. Otherwise, basically I just wanted to make sure we were on the right track, or if the council wanted to change price. But if the current lease is sort of where we're at, we can just approach the current tenant and say, this is what we'd like to start with.
I thought that part of the agreement with acquiring that land was that we didn't change the lease contract with the current leasee. Am I wrong, or could we have changed the amount? I thought we had to keep it as is.
No, it was basically the language was to enter into a lease that was mutually agreeable. So there was discretion to change some of the terms, but not necessarily a requirement.
So I guess the question is are we good with the terms, or would you like to go in a closed session and discuss them? Is that the question?
I had a comment.
Sure, go ahead.
So I don't know if it needs to be in closed session because what I see is probably a minor addition, and this is not related to the lease necessarily, but regarding the studies that need to be done, the land studies, would there be any problem with being able to do those if there are crops, or is the presumption those are all going to be done before the closing because that's part of the contingency, correct?
Yeah, we will have everything done before closing. So at least that's the plan. I don't know what the current status of the feasibility study is for public safety, but I know there was this was the site. Strand is out there. They're currently getting everything ready for like the phase 1, the Alta survey and the soil borings. So they're getting everything done they need to right now that we would need to just to make sure we can actually put a building there.
And then I had one suggestion that I don't think is a closed session item, but I wondered if it might be a good idea to include. I know that there's something about not you basically having to leave the premises as they were found. I don't know if it'd be worthwhile adding something about not leaving materials there, like no equipment, no junk, no, whatever. You always hope that's not going to be the case, but maybe clarifying that they're responsible to, for the cost of removal if they end up leaving stuff we don't want.
Yep, we can make that change.
And then one follow-up question, if I could. I noticed that the rent is due on December 1st of 2026, which I thought was odd. So I wasn't sure if there was a reason for that or if that was maybe not the correct date. That was it.
Yeah, that was more or less a holdover. So the rent was paid at the end of the year. We could have it be a different date. I don't really have strong feeling. I guess getting rent at the front end is better than at the back end.
But
so
I
you
think,
can have the rent, yeah.
Yeah, because I think the date says December of 26. So
yes, so
it's been a typo. I was just confused about that. So not certainly a big deal, but just some clarification.
Okay. Yeah, so the current lease is basically the rent gets paid at the end of the year. So after the lease, or like at the end of the lease term is when the rent gets paid. So we could change it to just say that rent is due at the beginning of the lease.
My assumption on that was that they must have used proceeds from the fields to pay some, or to offset some of that cost.
Yeah, similar line of thought. Would there be concern if they have to pay rent at the end of this year presumably, and then turn around in February or something, come up with another rent payment? That could be tricky.
Yeah, we can maybe split it or something, do half
Yeah,
and half.
We can talk to the tenant about trying to do something like that.
Okay. Anything else, Lisa?
No, that was it.
All
Yeah,
right.
and I understand about the crops, but perhaps with the proceeds of the sale, if they're included on that, it may be a non-issue to pay it, a little sooner rather than later. But it certainly, I don't know that I have strong feelings about it. Thanks for the info.
Okay. Alderperson Jensen?
This is a year-to-year lease, correct, Rick?
Correct. So it doesn't automatically renew.
Okay.
That's the current setup, so that would not be changing.
Anybody else?
I guess I'm okay with the current lease and conditions. I guess on this thing, the only other thing is there's some grammatical things I'm sure you'll be fixing.
Yeah, this was admittedly rushed, just trying to get this on the agenda. So I will be fixing all the typos in grammar.
Okay. Does that give you enough to work with, Rick?
Mm-hmm. I think we're good.
All right. Anything else from anybody before we sign off? All right. Not hearing anything. All right. So at this point, I would entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion by Jensen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Wozniak Scanlon. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? None opposed. We're adjourned. Have a good holiday.
Happy holidays, everybody.